In this video, we're going to take a look at a few more examples of the VLOOKUP function. So we're on the discount page, and I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit so it's a little bit easier to read. And what we have here is our lookup table, and the rules are the number in column B here, the first column of the table, is the minimum that you must have to get the discount that's over here in column C. So anything less than 10 will be 0. Anything from 10 up to, but not including 100, will be 3. From 100 up to 999 will be 6, and so on. So the way that the lookup function works is the values in column 1 of the table must be in ascending order, which they are. And if it finds, let's say I had the number 100 over here instead of 999. If it finds the number exactly in column 1 of the table, then we're good. It just takes the number to the right and returns it, so we get 6% if we looked up the number 100 in this table. But it's for the numbers in between that you have to understand how the lookup function works. So this is the minimum value to get 6%. So Excel basically looks through the column here, looking for a match. If it doesn't find a match, then when it gets to the first number that's greater than or equal to, so let's go back here and put 99 in. And so it looks for 99. That's not 99, but it's smaller. That's not 99, but it's smaller. That's not 99, but it's bigger. So I've gone too far. Back up 1, and we should return 3% for any number up to 999. So let's try that, and we'll use a little helper here and go to our Formulas tab. And we'll go to Lookup and Reference, and we will choose the VLOOKUP function. And the lookup value is going to be this number right here, F2, 99. So the user would enter a number in here, and it would automatically look up the discount form in the table. Our table array is this data over here. And we're not going to be copying this formula, so in this case it doesn't really matter, but it's probably not a bad idea to get in the habit of just always making that an absolute cell reference. So I'm going to hit function key F4, which will make that an absolute cell reference, because lookup tables are never going to move no matter what you're doing. And then I want to know what column number to look in to find the actual discount. And I've got a 2-column table here, and the discount is going to be in column 2. So all I have to do is go over here and put the number 2 in. And we're not going to use this last argument yet. Click on OK, and it should tell me 999 is not 100, but it's less than 100, so we're going to get 3%. If I go in here and change this to 100, I should get 6%. If I change to 1,000, whoops, wrong cell. Let's go back up. Change that to 1,000, I should get 9%, but if the number is 999, I'm only going to get 6%. Okay, so that's a pretty straightforward example. It's pretty similar to the one we did with grades. So now let's go on to another example. Let's take a look at our Taxes tab down here, and again, let's zoom in on that so it's a little bit easier to read. And what I want to do is I've got some names, some salaries, and I want to look up the tax rate. And we've got the same deal here that we've had in the other examples. The column 1 of the table has to be in ascending order. And the reason for that is if you get a value that's not exactly one of the values in the first column of the table, then it will go until it finds the first value greater than, and then it will back up 1. So 43,999, it goes through the table until it finds a number that's bigger than, which is 45,000. It backs up 1, and we should get an 8% tax rate for Breedy here. So let's go to our Formulas tab, and let's do a lookup, the lookup function. And the lookup value is going to be the person's salary. The table array, click or tab down in the table array box, and the table array is going to be this table right here. You don't include the column headings. And it's going to be absolute because I am going to copy the formula. I don't want it sliding down on me. So hit function key F4 to put your dollar signs in. And again, the column index is 2. We're going to go to column 2 of the table. I've got E and F here. And column 2 is going to return the tax rate. And again, we still don't need the 4th argument. Click on OK. And 8% is what I expected, and 8% is what we're getting. Now let's copy that down. Now in this example, you are probably interested in more than just the tax rate. You probably want to know what the taxes are. So we actually should multiply this number by the salary. Let's go over here, and we're going to widen column D because it's not big enough. And let's put a formula in here that will just take the salary, multiply it by the tax rate. Those are both relative references because when I move down a row, I want my 2's to change to 3's and so on. So this will calculate the tax for me, and then I can get my fill handle and I can copy that all the way down. Okay, so we'd probably have to put another label up here that says taxes, and you probably format it the same way, but we're not going to take the time to do that. Now, you may not care about this number, about displaying the number. Obviously, you care about it to be able to calculate this number over here, but you may not want a separate column with that in it. So let's go over here, and after we've done our lookup, let's just click on the end of the formula bar here, and let's say I want to multiply that times the number in B2 and hit enter. And now that's formatted as a percent. And so I've got a formatting problem here. But if we just go to our Home tab and click on that and do the accounting format, that's the number I had over here a minute ago. Now, this number is obviously changing because this number has increased significantly. So your taxes are not 154 million. We don't really need this stuff in this column anymore. So I'm going to select everything and hit the delete key. And now I can take this and I can copy it all the way down. And my column's not wide enough. That's what the pound signs mean. So I'm just going to widen it a little bit here. You can also double click to make it just as wide as it needs to be. And it is calculating everybody's taxes for me. Okay. So you can take a function value, and frequently when you're doing a spreadsheet, you're going to take a function value and you're going to do combine it in some arithmetic operation. And so in this case, we can just go edit that tax rate and multiply it by the number we want to multiply it by. Also, after you've been doing this for a while, you can get in the habit of just not actually using the dialog box and just say, okay, well, I want to look up my lookup value right here, comma, my table array is over here, and F4 to put the dollar signs in, and then a comma, and I want column 2, and then close it. And then I want to multiply that by B2 and hit enter, and I get the exact same thing that I did before. If you use the dialog box, your little function helper, to do the function, that's all you get. So if you need to put that in some kind of arithmetic operation after you do the lookup or whatever the function is, you have to go in and put in the rest of the arithmetic expression. And after you've done it a while, you don't need to use that dialog box that has the function arguments. You can just do it pretty much off the top of your head. Okay. Now let's go on and look at page views here. And this one's a little interesting. What we have here is, well, first of all, these numbers over here were not in scientific notation, I think, at first. But sometimes if the column is just kind of snug, and you change the scale, suddenly there's not enough room for the number anymore. It changes its scientific notation. Now, there aren't commas in here because these are ID numbers. So, but that's actually 28 million. And if I make the column too small, let's go just make it too small again. A little bit further. A little bit further. Okay. Then what it does is it changes those to scientific notation. Now let's undo a couple undos here. Okay. So you probably want to widen it. There aren't very many times you want scientific notation in your spreadsheet. So here's the deal. We have a page ID. We want to look that up in a table and find out how many hits, or what the name of the table was. We've got the number of views here. We've got the percentage of hits. And I want to know what that page number is. So it's easier for the computer to keep track of a page ID number, but it's easier for people to keep track of a page name. So where am I going to get the page name? Well, we're going to go to another sheet here. I've got a sheet called Pages down here. And all it is a little lookup table that has an ID in this column and the name in the other column. So I'll find the ID here. I'll go to column 2, and I will know what the name of the page is. Okay. So let's go to D4 here, and we're going to do a lookup. So go to lookup and reference and VLOOKUP. And the value I want to look up is the page ID number, which is A4. My table array, now click in the table array box, and then you have to switch over here and select everything that's in our table here. It doesn't go that far. It goes down to row 39. And hit F4 right away to make that absolute. If you come back and hit F4, it will not make the whole thing absolute, so be careful about that. And then the column index number in that table is column 2. It has the name of the page. And now I'm going to click on OK. And we've actually made a mistake here. Let's copy this down a ways. We won't do the whole thing. but local business 1 keeps coming up over and over. I've got some errors showing up here, and these numbers I can tell you are all in the list on the Pages tab. Okay, so something went wrong, and let's go take a look at the Pages tab here, and we'll see what's wrong. The problem is that these numbers here are not in ascending order. This one goes from 280016 to 288004. So these are probably actually in order of, frequency visits or something like that, or order of importance here. And they're not in numerical order. So if it's not in numerical order, the only thing you can do if the data is not in numerical order is you have to do an exact lookup. Okay? And in this case, I know that every page ID number is going to be in this table over here. So I can do an exact lookup. In the previous examples, like my discount over here, I don't always know that this number is going to be in the table. So it's okay to have a number that's not in the table, and as long as you know what the rule is, it just finds the first one bigger, backs up one, and then goes across. But in this case, we know that we want to do an exact lookup. Every single one of these numbers in here should be in this table over here. And if that's the case, then this does not have to be sorted. You'll never have a number in between two numbers. You will always find the number you're looking for in there. So let's go back here, and let's go to our first cell here. And if you click on the FX over here on the left side of the formula bar, it will bring up our dialog box for function arguments. And this is finally where we need that last argument. You see, it's not in bold, which means it's an optional argument. And in this case, it's really not optional. Optional means that, sometimes it's required, sometimes it's not. So what I have to put in here is, if I want to find an exact match, I have to put a logical value false in there. Okay. If I do want, if I don't care about an exact match, like I did with the discounts, then I can put true in there, but true is the default, so you actually never put true in here. The only time you'll put anything in here is if you're doing an exact lookup, and then you have to put false in. So let's click on OK, and that sounds more like it. The page that's getting half of the hits is probably the home page. Now I'm going to pull this down, and we've got all these local business that keep showing up there over and over again. And now when I do this, you see local business. Where's local business? It was local. Yeah, there it is, way down there. So if you look through here now, none of these page names occurs more than once, and it makes sense that they would not, because all of these numbers over here should be unique. If I change this one to 280000546, then I will get home page again if I do a Control-Z to undo that. And if I just type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's not going to be in the table, and so I'm going to get this not applicable or not available. I'm not sure what it means, but it means that your function did not find what it was looking for in the lookup table. Okay, so if your values here, if you're doing an exact lookup, you expect the number to be found in the table, then that last argument has to be false. Okay, we've got a couple more examples here. This one, we have a part number, and again, this is going to be an exact lookup. I expect to find the part number in here. It just so happens that these are in ascending order, but we're still going to have to do an exact lookup. It would actually work in this case because they're in ascending order. But in general, if you want to do an exact lookup, put that fourth argument in. So I want to look up the part price here. Well, that's column 3. This is our first table. It's got more than 2 columns. So it's going to be column 1 is over here. Column 3 is where I want to get the price from. So I'm going to do a VLOOKUP. So let's go to my lookup and reference on my formulas tab. And let's go to VLOOKUP. And the lookup value I want is the part number that's up here. My table array is everything over here. All the way down to the bottom here, row 51. And again, I'm going to make that absolute, even though this formula is not going to be copied. The column index number for the price now is column 3, so you don't always put a 2 in there. And then I do want to do an exact lookup, so I have to put false in for the last argument. And part A02 is this row right here, and the price of an alternator is $380.73. Okay, now let's go down here and look up the part name. That's going to be lookup and reference again, VLOOKUP. I'm again going to look up G2. My table array again is going to be the same that it was before, down to row 51. And I'm going to make that absolute again by hitting F4. And the column index number for the part name is column 2. So let's put a 2 in there. And again, it's got to be an exact lookup, so we're going to put false in for the fourth argument and click on OK. And it looks up the alternator for us. Okay. Now, if you double click and look at this formula here, and so G1 table, column 3, false. This one, G1 table, column 2, false. It's almost exactly the same thing. So what if I took this formula and I just copied it down? Okay. Well, if I copy it down, unfortunately, that G1 was a relative cell reference, and so now it's G2. I can change it to a G1, and to find the status is column 4 of the table, so I can copy it, save myself a little bit of typing maybe, and hit enter, and now it should look up the status of part A002. Okay. Remember, if you copy a formula like we did there, that relative cell references will be adjusted, and obviously absolute cell references will not. So sometimes, you're doing basically the same formula or just a little variation on it. There's 2 ways to copy. You can do it the way we normally do it, which is by getting the fill handle and just clicking and dragging. There's another way, though, and I'm going to show you the other way. So let's take this formula right here, and up here on the formula bar, I'm going to select it, and I'm going to do a Control-C to copy it to clipboard. Okay. Now, it still thinks I'm editing this formula, so it's crucial that you hit the Escape key next to let it know you're not editing that cell anymore. And I'm going down here, and I'm going to do a Control-V. Okay. So if I do a Control-V here, the G1 gets copied because it's copying the exact text. Okay. Now, I still have a problem with the 2, though. It's not column 2 that I want. It's column 4 that I want. But that saved me the hassle of having to save that first argument. So there's a couple of ways to copy. If you just get the fill handle and copy, then you need to know that what you're going to get is relative cell references are going to be adjusted. If you take the text and copy it and paste it, you're going to get the exact same text pasted in. Okay? And let's do one more example here. We've got some text keys over here in column A, and we're going to enter a name here. We want to look up the phone number. Okay? These happen to be in alphabetical order, but they don't have to be. If you're doing text, again, you want to do an exact lookup. So let's go here. And I'm going to skip the dialog box this time. I'm just going to type in equals VLOOKUP. And the lookup value is going to be, I'm in the wrong cell. Let's go down here. I'm going to do equals VLOOKUP. And the value I want is going to be up there in E2, comma. My table array is going to be from here to here. Don't include the headings when you're doing this. And I'm going to do an F4 even though I'm not copying it. And then a comma. And the index number is column 2. And I want to do an exact lookup, so I'm going to do false and close the parentheses. And there's nothing there, so I'm going to get NA. But let's type in Adam, and I should get the correct number. As long as I type in a name that's in there, I'm going to get a correct number. Now let's type in, there's no Fred in there. Type in Fred, and if it doesn't find it when you do an exact match, you'll get the NA error back. Okay? And let's try one other thing here. What if, when we did this, what if we didn't put that fourth argument in there? We just left false out and hit enter. Okay. Now it's telling me Fred's number is 5559999. Okay. Well, how do you get that? It goes through here until it finds the first value that is greater than F alphabetically, which is George. And it says, whoop, I went too far. I got to back up one. And just like it does, with some of those other examples where you've got a continuous range of numbers, and you don't care about an exact lookup. So it backs up one, it says Curly, and it returns Curly's phone number, even though Fred is not on the table. So it is better, let's undo that, and it's better that we get an error back than get the wrong information. So we need to make sure we put that final false argument on there if we're doing an exact lookup.